Violence Prevention Committee for the 22nd of June. I have had no apologies for absence.
No apologies.
No, thank you. Minutes, are we happy to approve the minutes from the last meeting? Anyone? Apparently no one was. We'll take that as a We'll assume they're right then. Items of urgent business. I haven't been given any items of urgent business. Declarations of interest. Has anyone got any items of interest or declarations of interest they wish to make? No. We'll go on to agenda item 5, terms of reference. And who will be presenting that, please? Thank you. Rhiannon.
Thank you, Chair. So on page 7 of the agenda is the terms of reference for this committee, which is contained in the Constitution. It sets out important information such as the areas and topic this committee covers and the quorum. This item is for committee members to note what they are constitutionally required to do. Thank you.
Nothing else to add?
Just for committee members to note.
All in agreement with that, please? We now come to the work programme. Has anyone got any items they wish to add, apart from myself? Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Chair. In the 3rd of October meeting, there is a paper for Thurrock, attendance and presentation. Just for clarity, really, that subject matter doesn't fall within the terms of reference of this committee. So I'm putting a proposal forward that actually moves to either the CGS or the Health and Wellbeing Board. It fits into their Domain 6, which is their strategy, and it also serves their funding stream. So it would be, in my opinion, much better to be placed within the Health and Wellbeing Board rather than here. It doesn't fall within the terms of reference. But that is the only item that we would look to change at this point in time.
Yeah, we were looking at Thurrock this year, and we'd like to be sort of kept in the loop with it. No one's actually asking the day-to-day operational runnings of it, but we'd like to know what they're doing and and if there's anything we should be concerned about. Would that be a problem?
I think what we could potentially be doing there is inviting people in to give you a verbal update in a closed session in relation to that, as opposed to any particular paper, so that if you can then be kept abreast of that information. But I do see a formal paper being better placed at the Health and Wellbeing Board, because obviously it falls within their domain and their strategy, and it falls within their funding streams.
I understand that, but I think we'd like to, even if it's behind closed doors, we'd like to have some sort of report. Let us know what's going on, please.
Thank you. And in those circumstances, obviously, it's only Sheila Coates that would be presenting there. So if we ask for Michelle Cunningham's name to be stripped from that, it will only be the one person.
I think we all enjoy listening to Sheila. Thank you. Anyone else want to add anything to the work programme? Councillor Olanaji.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Collins. Sorry, I have to take you back to the agenda item number 5. In a closer look to this document, and the amount of things which we in the committee has to do, and the expectation as well, which we have to feedback to various committees. My question is, and also looking at this and looking at the work program, I do not see training as part of the work program here, because there is a lot that is expected here, and prevent, what you call it here, is a major area at the moment. Human trafficking, preventing, is one of the area extremism that is quite very popular, and a lot is happening this time around. And some of us here are new to this particular area, and I understand we do have training going on today. Is that the only training we're going to have? Because there's quite a lot going on here. We need more training to be added on to the work program. I think that's just what I'm trying to say. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for bringing that up. Who would like to answer that, please?
So in respect of modern day slavery and human trafficking, you recall last year we were due to have that training and it got cancelled a few times. Because the same person works across the whole of Essex, they're going to deliver it to all members across Essex, and those dates are imminent in coming out to you, very much as they're doing the regional prevent training at the moment. So that's in hand. I just haven't got the dates yet, but we'll get that out to you.
Thank you, Ms. Young. Are you happy with that, Councillor Margie?
Yes, I'm happy there will be training, but I would have thought the training would have been in place. Some of us would have attended the training first of all before being given such a very huge responsibility in doing this. So training, I believe, is very important, because I do know that the Human Trafficking, Slavery and Modern Slavery Act of 2015 is a very big legislation, and it really involves so many things that is involved. And if you don't understand it, it's definitely going to impact on the output which we're going to be giving and the expectation which we're expected to give. Training is very important, and I'm just wondering how quick will this training be? Thank you.
Who would like to answer that, Michelle?
They're planning it at the moment, so obviously it couldn't be arranged until after the elections, etc. And they did the prevent one first, and they're now looking at doing this, so it's imminent.
Margie?
Okay, well, obviously, so we have to do with what we see anyway, so thank you.
Thank you very much. There is a particular, I see that we've done it under corporate parenting 2.4. We're looking at some sort of overview of what's going on regarding notifications from children's services, so we can have a look at and be kept in the loop about, say, drugs, grooming, that sort of stuff. Could we have a report from children's services included? If it has to be behind closed doors, so be it.
I think, Rhiannon, that's something you'll take up with children's.
There's no representative from Children's Services tonight, so we'll have to contact them outside of the meeting and check their availability to provide that.
You can still have that then, yeah?
I have to speak to the officers in Children's Services, but I certainly will request it.
We'll be very nice about it. Recently, a concern that I'd like to raise with the RAF. If we remember in the newspapers that I'm sure for the best of motives they wish to increase the diversity, and it just turned into no white men. And of course now things are blowing up in their faces, and apparently even if you didn't even get an interview, they realise, and if you're a white British person going for a job, you're now going to get given £150,000 in compensation for racism against you. My concern is that this wokeness, which is basically what it is infiltrating our institutions and colleges. Could we look into this, please, and prepare a report and be concerned about this infiltrating our Thurrock Council? Thanks.
Sorry, Councillor, can you repeat it? I understand that you're talking around the RAF and some recruiting from the RAF, possibly discussion around their recruitment policy, which obviously isn't something that would fall to this committee. Could you rephrase it into a question for me so that I could answer? Thank you.
Okay, what I'm looking at is what controls do we have in place to see that nothing like this happens to Thurrock Council in its hiring policy, please?
In relation to a recruitment policy, I can't possibly comment, unfortunately. That would need to be directed to HR and their expertise within HR legislation. So I can take the question away in relation to our recruitment policy, let's say. However, I wouldn't be able to answer a question given the nature of it, i.e. is there positive discrimination taking place, etc.
Okay, is this one of these conversations we have behind closed doors?
I think it's a conversation required with a different department, unfortunately. I would not be able to answer a question around HR policy.
Okay, thank you. There was another initiative against reducing, and once again, I'm sure the motives were pure, domestic violence. Could we have some feedback on that, how that operation has gone, and what the plans are going to be taken forward, please?
Once again, there is a board that deals with violence against men, women and girls, etc. A board that covers that. Again, I'll bring us back to the purpose of this board, being A, prevent and counter terrorism, B, human trafficking and modern day slavery, C, unaccompanied asylum seeking children, and D, tackling criminal gang associations. I think we've got to be careful around what we discuss here. We must remain within the terms of reference of the board. And therefore, if there are issues that you wish to raise with regards to domestic violence, it could be aired and passed to the relevant board or committee.
Okay, I'll save that for another committee then, thank you. Does anyone else have any? Councillor Snow.
Thank you, Chair. Sometimes you hear things in public houses which you sort of start listening to and think, well, this is a bit of a worry. Relatively recently, as in, doesn't really matter which pub it was, but it's the Dog and Partridge in Slipping Place. There was a couple of guys talking about visiting a house of ill repute in Grays, where apparently the women were all Romanian, and they were talking about that. And I tried to sort of say to them, well, you know, where is this place? I mean, but they were a bit, well, you know, they've moved on now. But the suspicion was that these were trafficked women in working in Grays as prostitutes. And I wonder if there's any indication if that's an issue we've got in Grays, that, or at least in Thurrock generally, that we can look into or that we know about already. Because I think, you know, you see it in news reports sometimes that does appear to be a problem of girls being trafficked in to be in that trade. And if that's going on here, we need to know about that and do something about it.
The reports we receive are very few and far between. And I know in the past where we have had reports when action's been taken, they've moved on already. I think for us the role is to harness that community intelligence much better and raise awareness, and I think that's the role we've all got to play, and there are means of inputting that intelligence either through ourselves direct into police or, you know, from community through Crime Stoppers, and I think there is a constant need to keep raising awareness with professionals and the communities as to how to report those sort of things so that appropriate action can be taken by teams. The police would work closely with our services to support anybody in those situations. Adult social care would put appropriate safeguards in and obviously go through the national referral mechanism around that should they wish to be safeguarded. So I think all the policies and processes are in place to deal with those issues. It's just about how we gather that intelligence and are able to act on it. So we're certainly, we're not getting reports and seeing it, but we are not saying that's not necessarily happening. Does that make sense?
It does make sense, and thank you. But would it be possible, I mean, I certainly wouldn't know necessarily all of the methods and ways of reporting that. Was it possible at some point to come back with maybe a short presentation or something we can look at that just gives us some information of how to go about should we come across this in our day-to-day jobs as councillors?
Thanks, Councillor. I can answer that. In fact, because we've been discussing this and how best we can serve this committee considering its purpose. And one of the best ways we have found that we believe we would be able to serve this committee is obviously any papers are presented naturally to the committee. However, then we would like to enter into a closed session where you would be able to talk to our partners in our 4 areas. So each committee meeting would involve one of those particular areas of concern that is covered by this committee, and you would get a verbal update from the partner that is involved in that process. And we hope moving forward that's something that we could do for this committee so it could be effective.
Just on top of that, the training that I spoke about earlier will absolutely have all those contacts in. DEM Services had some packs for all the councillors for the session we did at the start when everybody was able to come in with lots of leaflets and all that sort of information on. I'll liaise with DEM Services and make sure we get leaflets out to everybody, maybe at next full council, in regards to prevent modern day slavery and the Crime Stopper generic leaflet.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Sugar.
Thank you, Councillor. Just looking at what has actually happened in Greece, about the issue of human trafficking. What lessons are we learning? What do you think we've actually learned from that?
It isn't something that I've got a lot of detail on. There was the inquiry. I haven't been briefed on that, unfortunately. It's something that I can definitely go away and ask around that. In general terms, human trafficking is obviously something that's taken nationally by the National Crime Agency, and they are the lead for the country on a criminal basis. However, we have our part to play as a local authority, and it is with regret we all know the circumstances to which you're speaking. So I will take that away, and I will try to research a little bit around the inquiry and anything that's fallen out of that, and bring it back to you if you're okay with that, Councillor.
Oh, that's fine. Just for us to be, ready, because you never know when such a thing can happen. So for us to be ready in case if anything should happen. That's what I'm asking, yeah. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Analaji.
Yes, my question goes to the directors or whatever. Yeah, still on taking into consideration modern day slavery is a very big issue. Do we have any policy or guideline in the borough on how to deal with this?
Yep, so we've got a strategy that was put in place and came through this committee last year. 3-year action plan sat below that, led on by Adult Social Care with input from obviously Community Safety and the local Safeguarding Children's Partnership. In terms of policies and procedures, they are set wide, so Southend, Essex and Thurrock, and in line with safeguarding policies and procedures for both children and adults. And the LGA have now put in place or brought out a sort of self-assessment matrix, and that's the next step for this year to complete that across all directorates. So it's laid out under each service level what they should have in place in order to make sure that we're doing all that we can to address modern day slavery. Procurement also have in place a statement in relation to modern day slavery, and that is published on our website.
Okay, we have statements, we have leaflets, and we have bits of it here and there, but we don't have any policy specifically as a borough.
We've got a strategy and action plan, and the policies are the set wide ones in terms of how we safeguard victims.
But there's no policy specifically for modern day slavery at the moment. If there is none, is that something we're thinking of maybe formulating, getting one?
What Michelle's saying is that we follow the South End Essex policy, so we just adapt that rather than reinventing the wheel. We're all singing from the same hymn sheet, in effect.
Okay, thank you, but there's no policy. We don't have any copies. Anywhere we can get a policy. We have a policy for licensing, we have a policy for other things, but we don't have any specific policy on modern day slavery.
We have the Essex-wide one that we adhere to, and we can share that with you, as well as the strategy.
Okay, I'd like to receive a copy of it, please. Thank you.
In fact, we'd all benefit from a copy of that please, so thank you very much. Councillor Manuel.
Hi, I've got a question regarding the prevent and counter extremism sort of side of things. Could we also have a copy, or is there a policy that we follow that's maybe, I assume it's going to be more of like a nationwide or a county-wide, like as you said with the other item we were discussing, but I'm quite interested in looking at how that policy works, because I know quite a wide criticism of like the prevent system and like counter-extremism work in the UK is that a lot of the time it kind of disproportionately targets certain demographics in our society and it makes unfair assumptions. So how does our prevent and counter-extremism sort of policy or guidance work, and could we all have a copy of it if that's available?
Thank you. So nationally, there is the contest strategy, which covers 4 strands within there, of which prevent is one of them. And obviously there's a duty on local authority 2015 around our prevent. So sat below that locally, we have our own prevent strategy. That was dated from 2020 to 2023. It's all available on our website. Obviously, we are in 2023 and we should have been refreshing that strategy. Following the independent review last year of Prevent, nationally there is a complete review of their policy and procedures. So it was agreed again, brought through this board last year, that we would hold off on refreshing our Prevent strategy until nationally it had been refreshed, and then we would refresh it in line with that. Ideally, it would be sat on the work plan now for it to come back through this board, but we don't have any timelines as yet from the Home Office as to when that piece of work will be done. Once it is and it's out there, we will obviously be refreshing our Prevent strategy, and it will be in consultation with this board. That helps.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just to clarify, would you still like a copy of the strategy that's currently in place?
Oh yeah, that would be nice. If that's what we're working with right now, then yeah, sure. Thank you.
Okay. Else have anything else to ask, say? No? Councillor Chipwood?
Yeah, just to clarify, you know, do we still have problems with the unaccompanied asylum seekers in Thurrock? Do we still have issues like that?
I think this will be picked up via DEM services and children's services, because it's really their area of expertise, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Councillor, we have nobody from Children's Services tonight. If you want to email them that question, or they'll be at the next meeting to be able to answer that for you.
Have we all said that we asked all the questions we want to ask? Okay, I'll just move on then. And we will now, having discussed the work plan, just a moment, please. No other business to do, then I'll close the meeting now at 7:25, and thank you everyone for attending. We're now going